What are we looking at when a ghost reads a self-help book? The question seems absurd, almost like the setup for a joke. Yet, in the opening moments of the very first Casper cartoon from 1945, this is precisely what we see. A small, translucent figure sits on a tombstone, engrossed in a book titled How to Win Friends. He turns the page, his expression hopeful. This single, bizarre image is our entry point. It's an anomaly that doesn't make sense on the surface. Ghosts, by definition, are meant to haunt, to scare, to exist as terrifying reminders of mortality. They are the antithesis of social connection. So why is this one trying to improve his social skills? This is the fundamental contradiction at the heart of Casper the Friendly Ghost. And it's a question that, once asked, begins to unravel the 75 years of storytelling built around him, revealing something far more complex and unsettling than a simple children's cartoon. We think we know this character. The name itself is a summary, a friendly ghost, but that friendliness, the very quality that defines him, is not a simple character trait. It is a symptom. It is a clue. It points toward a deep, foundational tragedy that the stories have spent decades trying to alternately ignore, sanitize, and confront. To understand Casper, we have to treat him not as a character, but as a case file. We have to become investigators, excavating the layers of his story, because buried beneath the gentle exterior is a devastating truth about what he actually represents. Our investigation begins where he did with that 1945 theatrical short from Famous Studios, appropriately titled The Friendly Ghost. The first thing we must notice is the context of his existence. He lives in a haunted house, populated by other ghosts, but they are not like him. They are archetypes of the undead. They leave the cemetery each night with a singular, joyful purpose: to scare the living. They are a spectral glee club, reveling in their power to terrorize. Casper, however, wants no part of it. When they fly off to haunt, he stays behind, dejected. His core conflict is immediately established, and it is not what we might expect. The central tension is not Casper versus the living world he frightens. It is Casper versus the world of the dead to which he belongs. He is an outcast among outcasts. He is a ghost who does not want to be a ghost. This is the first layer of his tragedy. He is trapped between two worlds, welcome in neither. The living flee from him in terror, their reactions instinctual, and, from their perspective, entirely rational. A shrieking cow, a panicked rooster, a terrified mouse, they all react to the sight of him as a fundamental violation of the natural order, and the dead, his own kind, mock him for his gentleness. There's no future in being a friendly ghost, one of them chides before disappearing through a wall. He is utterly, existentially alone. There is no precedent for what he is, and therefore no place for him to belong. In this original cartoon, his origin is a complete void. He emerges from a grave, but the headstone is generic. It simply reads, "Here lies a ghost." He has no name, no history. He appears to be born fully formed from the earth, an entity whose defining characteristic is a desperate, unexplained desire for companionship. This lack of a past is a critical piece of evidence. The creators, Seymour Raitt and Joe Oriolo, presented a being who is a pure state of longing. He isn't the ghost of anyone. He simply is a ghost. This makes his predicament abstract, almost philosophical. He is loneliness personified, a walking, floating metaphor for the pain of social isolation. But the cartoon pushes this metaphor into territory that is shockingly dark for its intended audience. After being rejected by every animal he meets, Casper decides to end his own existence. He finds a set of train tracks, lies down across them, and waits for the express to run him over. A ghost, a being who is already dead, attempts suicide. Let that sink in. He is so tormented by his inability to connect that he seeks a second oblivion. It is only the chance arrival of two lonely children, a brother and sister, that saves him. They are not afraid of him. They see him not as a spectre, but as a playmate. For a few brief, joyful moments, Casper experiences the friendship he has craved. They play ball, they play hide and seek. He has found his place. But then the children's mother sees him. She screams in terror, assuming the ghost is a monster who has captured her children. She faints from shock. The cartoon ends on this deeply ambiguous note. Casper has saved her from fainting by catching her, but he is now holding an unconscious woman, her children looking on. He has made friends, but in doing so, he has terrified their parent. The final frame shows him shrugging, a look of resignation on his face. The problem hasn't been solved. His nature as a ghost is an insurmountable barrier to the normal life he desires. What are we to make of this? A character born from a nameless grave, rejected by both the living and the dead, who contemplates self-destruction and finds only fleeting moments of acceptance that are immediately complicated by the very fear his existence provokes. One hypothesis is that this is simply an inversion narrative, a monster who wants to be loved, a classic trope. But that feels insufficient. The emotional weight, the sheer despair in the character goes beyond a simple subversion of expectations. The story is saturated with a profound sadness. This suggests we need to look at the context in which he was created. 1945, the end of the Second World War. The world was emerging from a period of unprecedented global trauma and loss. Death was not an abstract concept. It was a fresh, pervasive reality in millions of homes. The idea of creating a children's character, who is, himself, a ghost, seems almost unthinkable. Yet, perhaps it was the perfect time for it. A character who is literally a child of the graveyard, a friendly spirit, could be seen as a way of processing immense collective grief. He is a way of rendering death non-threatening, of making the spectre of loss into something gentle and approachable. Casper, in this original form, is a paradox born of a traumatized culture. He is a safe ghost for an unsafe world. By giving him no past, no story of how he died, the creators allow him to represent the idea of loss without the specific, painful details. He is a universal symbol of someone left behind, someone who doesn't fit in anymore. His longing for friendship can be read as a longing for the life that was lost, a desire to reconnect with a world that no longer sees him as one of its own. The void at his centre is not a flaw in the storytelling, it is the entire point. He is an empty space that the audience can fill with its own sense of grief and isolation. But this abstraction, while powerful, was ultimately unstable. A character this popular cannot remain a mystery forever. The void demands to be filled, and so we move to the next layer of our investigation. In the 1950s, the character rights were purchased by Harvey Comics, a publisher that would become synonymous with Casper for generations. Harvey's business model was built on creating vast, interconnected universes for its characters. They needed consistency, backstories, and a recurring cast. The philosophical, existentially bleak ghost of the famous studio's shorts was not a sustainable model for a monthly comic book aimed at young children. He needed to be codified, explained, and most importantly, made safe. The first and most significant change was the gradual introduction of a past. The comics began to explicitly state what the original cartoon had only implied and then ignored. Casper was once a living boy. We see flashbacks, not of his death, but of his life. We see him with his loving parents. He lives in a pleasant house, plays with toys, and is, by all accounts, a happy, normal child. Then, in the narrative, there is a sudden jump. The next panel, he is a ghost. His parents are gone, and he is alone in the family home, which is now a crumbling, haunted mansion. This is a monumental shift in the character's tragedy. It is no longer abstract and existential. It is now concrete and historical. He is not a symbol of loneliness. He is a specific boy who lost his life and his family. This retcon, this retroactive continuity change, grounds him in a recognizable reality, making him more relatable to a child reader. But in solving one narrative problem, the void of his origin, it creates a far more disturbing one. If he was a living boy, then something terrible must have happened. How did he die? And here, we uncover a fascinating and deliberate act of narrative censorship. For decades, across hundreds of comic book issues, this question is meticulously avoided. The comics will show his life. They will show his afterlife. But the moment of transition, the death itself, is a black box, a void that is even more pronounced than the one in the original cartoon. It is a story with a beginning and an end, but the crucial middle part has been surgically removed. This omission is not an accident, it is a choice. The storytellers at Harvey Comics made a conscious decision to give Casper a human past, but to shield their young audience from the trauma of his death. What does this do to the character? It transforms him into a figure of sanitized grief. He is a walking, talking memorial to a tragedy that the story refuses to name. His friendliness, in this context, becomes even more poignant. He shows no anger, no resentment, no horror at his own condition. He simply accepts his ghostly state and continues his quest for friendship. He is the perfect, uncomplaining victim. This portrayal is, in itself, a form of adult coping mechanism. It reflects a desire to believe that children are resilient, that even in the face of the ultimate tragedy, their inherent goodness and innocence would remain intact. It's a comforting fantasy, but it is a fantasy. The world he inhabits in the comics further reinforces this sanitization. Harvey Comics introduced a host of other good supernatural children. There is Wendy the Good Little Witch, whose aunts are wicked, but who insists on using her magic for good. There is Hot Stuff the Little Devil, who is more mischievous than truly evil. Casper is no longer a singular anomaly. He is part of a club of nonconformist supernatural beings. This creates a safe, predictable universe where being good is a viable, if sometimes lonely, choice for a monster. It softens the edges of his isolation. He is still lonely, but he is no longer existentially alone. He has peers. But let's look closer at the pattern that is emerging. In the 1940s, Casper is an abstract representation of grief, his origin a mystery. In the 1950s and beyond, he is a historical victim of a specific, yet unspoken, tragedy. Each iteration is an attempt to manage the deeply unsettling premise of a dead child as a protagonist. The first approach was abstraction, the second was censorship. Both methods keep the raw, unbearable truth at arm's length. They allow the audience to feel sympathy for Casper without having to confront the horror of what must have happened to him. The friendliness is the sugar that helps the poison of the premise go down, but the poison is still there, lingering just beneath the surface. For 50 years, this was the status quo. Casper was the ghost of a boy, and we simply did not ask how. That silence was the bedrock of his story, until 1995. This brings us to the third and most crucial layer of our investigation, the live-action film Casper. Directed by Brad Silberling and produced by Steven Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment, this film made a radical choice. It decided to open the black box. It decided to answer the question that the comics had so carefully avoided for half a century. The film's narrative centers on a paranormal expert, Dr. James Harvey, played by Bill Pullman, and his daughter Kat, played by Christina Ricci, who move into Whipstaff Manor to deal with its ghostly inhabitants. One of those inhabitants is Casper. From the beginning, the film treats Casper's condition not as a given, but as a mystery to be solved. Kat, a teenager grappling with the recent death of her own mother, is the first person in Casper's long existence to simply ask him the question, "How did you die?" Casper's response is telling. He says, "I don't remember." This is a brilliant narrative device. He hasn't just lost his life, he has lost the memory of it. His amnesia is a form of self-protection, a psychological barrier against his own trauma. His story is not just unspoken, it is repressed. The film, therefore, becomes a therapeutic journey. For Casper to move forward, he must first go back. The key to unlocking his memory is in the attic, where his old belongings have been stored for a century. As Kat explores the dusty room, she finds a child's laboratory, old toys, and a sled. It is this sled that triggers Casper's memory. In a beautifully animated flashback sequence, the film finally shows us what happened. We see Casper as a young boy, sledding in the snow. His father, an obsessed inventor, is too busy to join him. Casper begs him to come outside, but his father promises he will later. Casper waits, staying out in the freezing cold long after sunset, hoping his father will keep his promise. He never does. Casper catches a severe cold, which develops into pneumonia. The film shows him sick in bed, his father at his side, helpless and full of regret. And then the boy dies. The devastating power of this revelation lies in its mundane cruelty. Casper was not the victim of a dramatic accident or a magical curse. He died from an illness he contracted because he desperately wanted to spend time with his father. His death is a quiet, domestic tragedy, born of neglect and broken promises. It is painfully, horribly normal. By giving the tragedy such specific and realistic contours, the film refuses to sanitize it. We are forced to confront the full weight of what was lost. We are not just looking at a ghost, we are looking at the ghost of Casper McFadden, a lonely boy who died because his father was too busy to play with him. But the film adds another crucial element to the mythology, the concept of unfinished business. Ghosts in this universe are spirits who chose not to cross over because they left something undone. Casper's unfinished business, he explains, was his father. After he died, he saw how grief-stricken his father was, how alone he would be. "So," Casper says, "I didn't go." This reframes his entire existence. His friendliness, his gentle nature, is not an innate quality. It is a choice born of love. He is not a friendly ghost. He is the ghost of a loving and protective son. He sacrificed his own peace, his own journey to the afterlife, to stay behind and comfort his father. This is the core of the devastation. His defining characteristic, his friendliness, is the very chain that binds him to his lonely existence. He is trapped in a state of perpetual childhood, a loving ghost haunting the ruins of his own life. Because of an act of profound compassion, he is frozen at the age of 12, unable to grow, unable to change, unable to move on. The film visualizes this beautifully. He watches as Kat goes to a school dance, experiences her first kiss, and participates in the rituals of growing up, all things that were stolen from him. He is a spectator to the life he should have had. The film offers a moment of catharsis. An invention of his father's, a machine called the Lazarus, is capable of bringing a ghost back to life, but there is only enough potion for one person. Casper is about to use it on himself, but at the last moment, he sees Kat's father, who has just died in an accident. In another act of selfless love, Casper gives up his only chance to live again, so that Kat will not have to suffer the loss of her parent. It is a heartbreaking echo of his original choice to stay behind for his own father. However, as a reward for his sacrifice, the spirits grant him his dream, if only for a few hours. He is transformed back into a living boy and gets to attend the dance with Kat. This scene is the emotional climax of the film. For the first time, we see the boy he was. He is no longer translucent and floating. He is solid, real. He shares a dance and a kiss with Kat. It is a moment of pure, unadulterated joy. But it is temporary. As the clock strikes 10, the magic fades. He looks at Kat, says, "Hey, Kat," boo, and transforms back into a ghost forever. This ending is profoundly bittersweet. He gets a taste of the life he was denied, but it is just that, a taste. It serves to underscore the permanence of his loss. The return to his ghostly form is an affirmation that there is no escape. His sacrifice is eternal, his condition is permanent. So now we have excavated the three primary layers. The 1940s gave us an abstract ghost, a symbol of loneliness born from post-war trauma. The Harvey Comics era gave us a sanitized ghost, the victim of an unspoken tragedy, protecting audiences from the reality of his death. The 1995 film gave us a therapeutic ghost, forcing a direct confrontation with the specific, mundane, and heartbreaking details of his past. What emerges when we synthesize these layers? What is the bedrock truth of this character? Casper, the friendly ghost, is not a single coherent story. He is an evolving cultural document, a 75-year-long project by adults attempting to process one of humanity's deepest fears, the death of a child. Each iteration of the character represents a different strategy for coping with this unthinkable horror. The initial strategy was to make the horror abstract. By leaving his past a void, the early creators made him a safe vessel for feelings of loss and isolation without needing to specify the cause. He was grief, but a gentle, friendly version of it. The second strategy was denial through censorship. The comics acknowledged he was once a boy, giving him a relatable past, but then built a wall around the moment of his death. This mirrors the way a family might deal with a traumatic event, by focusing only on the happy memories and refusing to speak of the painful truth. The world of Harvey Comics is a carefully curated photo album with the most important, most terrible page torn out. It is a performance of normalcy in the face of an unspoken catastrophe. The insistence on his unwavering friendliness is part of this performance. He is not allowed to be angry or sad about his fate, because that would force the reader to acknowledge that his fate is, in fact, terrible. The third strategy was confrontation and therapy. The 1995 film acts as a cultural therapy session. It argues that healing can only begin when the truth, no matter how painful, is spoken aloud. By remembering his death, Casper is able to understand his own existence. By revealing his story to Kat, he finds connection and a measure of peace. His unfinished business is not just about his father. It's about his own repressed trauma. The film suggests that the most haunting ghosts are not the ones that rattle chains, but the ones that carry unspoken stories. And this brings us to the devastating core of the character, the element that remains consistent across all versions, his friendliness. We have been conditioned to see this as a positive trait, a simple subversion of the scary ghost trope. But when viewed through the lens of this investigation, his friendliness is revealed as the most tragic aspect of his character. It is a coping mechanism. It is the relentless performance of being okay for the benefit of the living. A traditional ghost, a terrifying poltergeist, is an agent of chaos. It screams, it breaks things, it forces the living to acknowledge the violent intrusion of death into the world of life. A scary ghost is a ghost that is processing its trauma outwardly. Casper does the opposite. He internalizes everything. His existence is a fundamental trauma. He is a dead child, forever separated from the world. But he works tirelessly to make sure no one is uncomfortable about it. He apologizes for scaring people. He tries to help them. He desperately seeks their approval. His friendliness is a form of self-abnegation. He is suppressing the rage, the grief, and the horror that would be the natural emotional response to his condition, all in the hope that someone, anyone, will not run away from him. He is essentially ghosting his own trauma to make himself more palatable to others. Think about the psychological weight of this. He is a child, trapped in a state of arrested development, who spends his entire existence trying to manage the emotional reactions of everyone he meets. He is a people pleaser in the most extreme sense imaginable. His driving motivation is to undo the primary effect of his own being. He is a ghost whose life's work is to convince people not to be afraid of ghosts. It is a Sisyphean task, a constant, exhausting battle against the fundamental nature of his own reality. The real horror of the Casper story is not that a ghost might scare you, it is the emotional labour that a dead child feels compelled to perform for eternity. This reframes our understanding of his entire world. The other ghosts in his house, like his uncles Stretch, Stinky, and Fatso in the movie, are not simply villains. They are ghosts who are behaving like ghosts. Their desire to scare is, in a way, a more honest expression of their state of being. They are dead, they are angry about it, and they are taking it out on the living. They represent the unsanitized version of grief, the messy, ugly, antisocial rage that comes with loss. Casper is the foil to this. He represents a grief that is quiet, polite, and apologetic. He is the grief that society finds acceptable. So, where does this leave us? We began this investigation with a simple, strange image, a ghost reading a self-help book. Now we can see that image for what it truly is. It is a portrait of a victim trying to fix a problem that is not his fault. He is trying to learn the rules of a game he can never truly play. The book, How to Win Friends, is a symbol of his tragic optimism, his belief that if he just tries hard enough, if he is just friendly enough, he can overcome the insurmountable fact of his own death. We have journeyed from the existential void of his 1945 creation, a character born from the ambient grief of a post-war world. We moved through the carefully censored world of the Harvey comics, where his past was acknowledged, but his death was a forbidden secret, a family trauma too painful to mention. And we landed at the therapeutic confrontation of the 1995 film, which finally excavated the mundane, heartbreaking truth of his demise and recontextualized his entire existence as an act of sacrificial love. The pattern is undeniable. The story of Casper the Friendly Ghost is the story of our own evolving relationship with childhood mortality. It is a cultural barometer measuring our ability to confront the unthinkable. Each generation has reshaped him, adding layers of narrative and psychological complexity, all in an attempt to make sense of something that fundamentally makes no sense. A life cut short. He is a mirror reflecting our deepest anxieties about the fragility of innocence. So, when you encounter Casper the Friendly Ghost now, you are not looking at a simple cartoon character from your childhood. You are looking at a memorial. You are witnessing the story of a boy named Casper McFadden who died of pneumonia because he wanted his father's attention and who chose to remain on Earth as a ghost so his father would not be alone. You are seeing a being trapped by his own compassion, a child forever performing the exhausting emotional labour of being friendly to a world that is, by its very nature, terrified of what he represents. His famous desire for a friend is not a cute character quirk. It is the ghost of a fundamental human need that was stolen from him. His entire existence is a quiet, desperate, and unending attempt to reclaim a piece of the normal life that death ripped away. The true haunting in the world of Casper, the friendly ghost, is not the spooky antics of his uncles or the creaking floorboards of Whipstaff Manor. The true haunting is the gentle, polite, and friendly presence of a little boy who should have had the chance to grow up, but never did. And that is a truly devastating story.